The following program is brought to you by More Broadcasting. For more information, visit us at morebroadcasting.com.
Hello and welcome.
This is O'MearaCast.
Hello.
A show for Americans.
Hello, boys.
By Americans.
I'm Marcus Certa. This is O'MearaCast.
About our love for the Mike O'Meara Show.
We love you.
And all the shows on the More Network.
Robb Spewak.
The Mark and Lowell Show.
The Mark and who?
Tech 411 with Oscar Santana and Todd Moore.
Here's your wonderful host, Marcus Certa.
This episode of O'MearaCast is brought to you by the Mike O'Meara Show's Amazon page, where now you can save up to 70% on all jewelry. Just in time for a great gift for Mother's Day, Father's Day, and graduations. And hey, if kicks are more your style, now save up to 60% on all athletic shoes. Save money and support the show by going to the banner at MikeO'MearaShow.com, which takes you directly to your account. Whether you're at home, school, church, or work, shop through MikeO'MearaShow.com/Amazon today. Live from the Green Mountain Studios in Vermont, this is O'MearaCast. Welcome, everybody, to a really special interview with Robb Spewak, and thank you, Robb, for joining me. Let's get into it. Robb, I just want to start off with you've been getting a lot of crap lately about being the suburbanite.
Before we go there, Marcus, I feel I should issue an apology.
Yeah.
Because the last time I was on your fine program, it did not go as well as I think perhaps you had hoped. And then when I listened back to it, I felt like a jackass because I showed up and I was drunk, and I showed up with my wife, and she was so drunk she didn't even realize she was doing a show. She thought we were all just sitting in a room playing, and I was outwardly rude to you. And right now, by all accounts of the law, I am sober, so I hope it goes better than the last time.
It was all evened out because of the fact that I was also drunk off my ass and being an ass. So
well, no, but you weren't as outwardly rude. I'm not turning this into a contest, but I was really a jerk. So I hope that we can get through this better.
This is going to go.
Don't be an ass, and I won't be rude. That'll be the rule. Okay.
This is going to go great. Great. And
have you ever been overly optimistic?
Yes. Yes. That's why I got married.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Each time. You would think you would know better by now.
I know. I kept telling people, don't do it, man. And then what do? I repeat myself.
Yeah, you could save the Saturday. Just mail a check. You get the whole day to yourself.
The lessons I should have learned.
No rented clothes.
The lessons I should have learned from Mike O'Meara over the years.
That's right. But it's a pleasure to be here on This Week in O'Meara.
It's great to have you. And I mean, honestly, appreciate it. Yeah, I always love when that show gets brought up again.
Well, yeah, and we're going to bring that show up again. We need a shovel. But no, this is, I'll perfectly honest, Marcus. I listen each and every week and appreciate what you do. And thank you for making a great vehicle to promote the Mike O'Meara Show. You're very good, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate being on the network. It's fun for me because it gives me an opportunity to geek out with fans. And
let's talk about you, Marcus.
Yeah, let's talk about
you.
Oh, all right. Stop it. All right. Let's get back to you then.
I'm teasing.
Mister.
This is what I didn't want to happen.
Then let's talk about you, Mr. Suburbanite.
Yes.
Because you're taking time out of your busy schedule to go to Home Depot or Costco or something like that to talk to me today.
Right. Let's see, what will I do today that is suburban? Today I will go to my suburban pet store.
Yes.
And train my suburban dog because I have, the exact 2.5 family members. I have 2 children, a boy, a girl, and a dog. That's 2.5. I have my wife. I have my very average home. Yesterday, I actually, where did we do that was suburban yesterday? We went to the Best Buy. We went to the Costco.
Yes.
And we went out for a birthday dinner for my uncle. I couldn't get much more vanilla than that.
On that particular note, because you mentioned 2.5, what happened to 3.5? Where's Jabril?
It's been weird around the house. And for those people who don't know Jabril is my third son, or my third child, I should say. He is a neighborhood kid, Robert's best friend. He hails from a far and distant exotic land called Somalia. And he spent a lot of time through the years at my home. He would a lot of times show up at mealtime. But because he's Robert's best friend, we had no big deal with it. But Jabril is getting older. He's a middle schooler now. He's in 7th grade. And I don't know if he's finding his independence or his homework load is too heavy or perhaps he's finally figured out how to cook for himself. We're not seeing as much of Jabril. He's still in the neighborhood. He still comes by once in a while.
Yeah.
He and Robert still play basketball and hang out. But, 7th grade is when the homework load, I think, gets a little heavier. And I think he has a little less goof off time. But it's always a pleasure when he comes by.
Well, my son being 16, you would think the homework load would be tremendous, but for some reason he keeps coming home and keeps telling me he doesn't have any.
Yeah, how does that work out when like the parent-teacher conferences come and they say, "Oh, there's lots of homework. He's just not turning it in."
Yeah, it's exactly as you would expect it to be.
Right.
It's a complete and utter lie.
Mm-hmm. And they look at you like they're getting away with it.
Yeah.
Like we weren't doing this 30 years ago, Marcus. You and me doing the exact same thing. I don't think I have any homework tonight. La, 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 la.
Right.
I don't think I do.
And then the parent-teacher conference comes and I get the giggle. Oh, I had homework?
That's right. Oh, that homework.
Oh, God. That
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah. It's the same old game.
And there's no dog in this house.
How were you as a student, Marcus?
I was awful.
Were you really?
Yeah, because of the fact that I only cared about two things, and that was radio and television. Right. And we had a television station, a radio station in my high school, and that was the only thing I wanted to do. So I wanted to get out.
So you went to what? The Saved by the Bell high school?
Exactly.
We didn't have that. All we had was monkey bars. That's
right. That's where I got my buzz for radio. That's where I got my love for it. It was in high school. I was very lucky, very lucky. But anyway,
that is very cool.
Let's not get back to me. Let's focus on you. So Jabril, do you miss him?
I do very, very much. He is one of the most kind-hearted and good-hearted kids that I've ever met. And I felt not responsible, but I felt the ability to sort of help this kid out without the risk of going to the bit that we do on the show with the sad violins. I do come from a broken home. My parents divorced when I was in third or fourth grade, that area. And when a third or fourth grader is spending a lot of time at home alone as a latchkey kid, oftentimes it turns out fine, but it would be better with some adult supervision and some other people around. And I didn't like Jabril spending that much time. I'm no hero. I didn't want him spending all that time alone. And if he could come and hang at our house, a lot of that time I was unemployed. So it worked out very, very well. I liked having him here. So yeah, it was good. I think it worked out well for him. And also, if you've ever seen some of the quotes and things that we post on Facebook, on the Jabrillions Facebook page, he's a very entertaining child. So there's that as well.
Now, reading Facebook, there's the fans obviously love who you are as a father. Listening to the bonus show this week, what an unbelievable turnaround for Mike. And I think you had the best approach on how to deal with his daughter's graduation party.
That's very kind of you to say, but I don't want you to discount the fact that when I first made the suggestion, Mike said I was stupid.
Well, it takes Mike sometimes a little while to absorb the information, but
I may be a lot of things. But I don't think I'm stupid, Mike.
No, you're not stupid, but you are very thoughtful in your commentary, and you are very thoughtful in the way that you approach your kids. And so I wanted to ask you this question because, yes, let's go back to the broken home bit.
Right.
Where did it come from? How did you develop this fatherly instinct? I also come from a broken home, and I'll tell you, I have made so many mistakes.
Right.
And gone through so many trials and tribulations to get to the point where I think that I'm halfway decent. And honestly, I don't think I come to a tenth of where you are right now.
You're very, very kind. Keep in mind, I only talk about the good stuff. So it could be quite a bit of posturing. Let me ask about your broken home, Marcus. Yes. Were you the cause of the broken home?
No.
Okay. I might not have been the cause of the breakup, but I certainly was the cause of the marriage, and I'll leave it there. My folks tried to stick it out as best they could, but it just didn't work out, and it's common. More marriages I think now fail than make it. I think my respect for family, or my love of family, or my efforts to make my family the way it is, whatever it is, comes from the fact that when my folks split, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house because my mom was at that point, for lack of a better word, a single mom.
Yeah.
And she didn't want me, not unlike the Jabril situation. She didn't want me staying at home by myself. And my grandparents, they had a kid that was, their last kid was only 10 years older than me. So I was sort of like the next kid more than I was a grandchild.
Right.
Because my Uncle Dana is almost like having a sibling because there's only 9 years and change between us. So I would, a lot of weekends, holidays and stuff, I'd get dumped at my grandparents' house. And dumped as, I don't mean it as a negative thing. I mean, that's where I was.
In a basket with a blanket on the doorstep.
Exactly. And they sent me down the river like Moses. And I was picked up out of a basket. And they, because the fact is that they were a family that had 8 kids, 9 if you count me, coming, going, moving out, coming home, stopping by for the meal, stopping by just to hang out. The house was sort of a hotbed of familial activity. And I was always around family in that way, even if it wasn't my mom and dad or the fact that I'm an only child. I was always surrounded by family, and I really liked that. And I wanted to try and bring that to my kids. Now that all of my aunts and uncles are older and more spread out, there's not as much of that readily available, but we still, make the effort to hang out with different segments of the family and also manufacture our own Brady Bunch family styled fun. And I just try to stay involved that way. Yeah. I want there to be things going on at the house when it's possible, because I think that's what keeps it fun and exciting. And that's what keeps you involved with your family. And in this case, your kids and a parent.
But you didn't fall prey to the aspect of you were a television kid when you were growing up. You've said it many times that you were put in front of the TV as the TV was your babysitter.
And by the way, it wasn't so easy to be a TV kid back then because we only had 5 channels.
Yeah.
Kids today have it easy. We had to find cartoons, Marcus.
I don't know if you could say saying that it's easy. Yes, there's a ton of channels out there, but there's just too many channels.
Well, there are too many that suck.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, you can take the same amount of ingredients and make soup that feeds 5 people or 500 people,
right?
But you're going to have to add a lot of water. And that's what we've got now. We've got watered down programming. If I never see another episode of SpongeBob, I'm fine with that. I used to like it, but now at any given time, you can watch 3 episodes of SpongeBob or 4 different episodes of Law and Order. And I'm sick of it. And there's no appointment television. Listen how angry and old I sound, Marcus. But yeah, TV sucks now. It's not like somehow it was better when we were kids.
But you don't put your kids in front of the TV necessarily without you sitting in front of it. Because it sounds like, and again, I'm only hearing what I hear through the show, but it sounds like you spend a lot of time in front of the TV with them, guiding what they're watching, even if it is a lot of black and white. I try to steer them to watch what I think, if they won't enjoy it, something they might benefit from, even if it's just from a cultural relevance. Yeah. Like I had a great moment last night. I said, what do you want to do? Robert said, when we get home, can we watch a movie? Now, I knew it was going to be too late for us to watch a movie, but I still went down this road with him. I said, what movie do you want to watch? He said, I want to watch Rio Bravo or Robin Hood. And in my head, I'm just going, yes, he actually, without me steering him that night, he wanted to watch either a John Wayne Western or an Errol Flynn adventure movie. And really, out of all the things he could have wanted to watch, that's what he chose. That to me is a victory. Are you sure that he really wanted Errol Flynn and not Men in Tight Pants? Yeah, Men in Tights. Men in Tight Pants. Yeah. That's another movie available at marcuscerta.com. You can buy it with your PayPal account. That's how you support the show. No, that actually is. He wanted to watch the original one with Errol Flynn. And that to me is a certain victory. I also love, and it's not just TV. I'll let them watch whatever they want as a rule. As I've said on the show, like they enjoy the Honey Boo Boo. I hate the Honey Boo Boo, but Mom will watch Honey Boo Boo with them. So it's really not my place to get in the way and say, no good. Yeah. So I don't, I stay out of that. But for every Honey Boo Boo, I try to watch something with them that has a little more, it's hard to say substance, but something that is not so immediate and temporary as a Honey Boo Boo. Or have you seen the show Total Blackout? No. Where contestants are forced to do competitions in rooms with exactly no light. Oh, I've seen the preview for it, yes. Yeah, I think it's hosted by Urkel. It's great television. And then the other one they want, which is just the worst, is Wipeout. Oh. Where they have to jump around in the foam and on the big inflatable balls. Yeah. And if you have them, please see a doctor. This is the worst show on television. They love it, but if I'm not going to prevent them from watching that, I have to try to balance it out with something I think with a little more substance. Let me ask you about TV programming these days, because obviously your biggest problem, it sounds like, is with reality TV and the transition of television from real writing and real acting, whether it be comedic drama or otherwise, to this just cheap production reality television. And the kids love it. Everybody loves it. That's why they keep making this crap.
Not everybody loves it, Marcus.
Okay, except you and I.
But you see, this is, if you want to paint with a really, really broad brush, this is one of the reasons why I was fired by CBS. Because they can put this stuff on and churn it out so cheaply that even if they're not scoring the ratings that, say, in recent history, like ER used to get on a Thursday night, they're not getting that kind of number in return for it. But because of the investment going in is so much less, the bottom line looks better on their report, and they can go with it. When a certain station, to remain nameless, went to sports, they knew they weren't going to get the same number that it was when it was talk, but because it cost less, it's actually better for them as a company. But no one seems to understand how disrespectful that is to the listener, that you're purposely putting on, or the viewer in television's case, you're purposely putting on something that is not of the same quality. You're doing it on purpose. I understand it can happen accidentally all the time. Tony Danza keeps getting work, but if you do it on purpose, knowing that because it's going to just cut your losses, that's absolutely disrespectful to the talent. And I don't use that word lightly, just the talent, the people that are on the air. And it's disrespectful to the person who is the viewer or the listener. And that's sad.
Yeah. Before I get too far away from the discussion about your family, and I do want to get into a more radio conversation with you.
Please.
I want to talk about your best partner and pal, Carrie. Because obviously you as a parent don't do this alone. So tell us about how Carrie partners with you and you guys parent together, because obviously she also has to participate and she does play. I mean, she just went to the World Wrestling event with you guys.
Yes, she did.
Which is I think an unbelievable act for any woman.
She not only did that, she was the one that got out there, found the tickets, got the deal, and made it happen. We are, first of all, I shall say this. I traded way up on this marriage, did very, very well. And now after, we were in 96. So we're going on our 17th anniversary this October. It's starting to sink in the really horrible mistake she made to her. She's starting to think, oh, wait a second. This radio thing, I mean, in the grand scheme, it should have taken off by now. And she's just starting to realize that. But I tell her, keep your eye on the prize, babe. We're going to get there. She is, as far as running a household and being there, as far as organizing what needs to be done for getting them to school, making sure that checks for activities are paid for. Everything nuts and bolts about being a parent, Carrie is faultless. She never, despite a work schedule that is mind-boggling to me, she never misses an event for the kids. She is able to volunteer to do field trips and things at school. I try to volunteer when I can at school, but because we work right in the middle of the school day, it's sometimes tough to get away and get there and do stuff like that. But Carrie always pulls in the slack. And, she runs the finances of the house, because that's really not how my head is wired. As far as parenting goes, I would say we complement each other very nicely. She is everything that I'm not. And she does allow me to be the bad guy with the kids lots of times, which it sounds like that's a bad thing, but I enjoy it because I think ultimately you get more respect back from the children.
Yeah.
And my kids, every now and then really, really dazzle and delight me with how mature and polite and well-mannered they can be when they are called upon to be that way. Not to say that when they're home together with just the three of us, they don't chase each other like crazy, mental patients. Yeah. But they know how to turn it on and fake it. And I think that says something, time and place. They're excellent kids. And Carrie is more responsible for their structure that yields a child that is that outstanding than I am.
No, absolutely.
She's great. Yeah. She's great.
And as I tell my daughter, never marry for potential. It's never going to work out.
No,
but
I did. And I did quite well. Thank you.
But Carrie and you met while you were on DNM, correct?
Yeah, you are so lucky that I will tell you this story because I'm going to save you about 180 minutes.
Okay.
Carrie is from Newport News, Virginia, which is down where right on the water, not quite to Virginia Beach, but close to it. And she moved up here to get a job in cartography. She finally found a major that was less useful than communications, Marcus. She majored in map making. Very happening. In the latter part of the 20th century, she's majored in map making, but she actually found a job and relocated to the Washington, D.C. area. And one of her coworkers was listening to the Don and Mike show. And she heard me on the show and thought I sounded fun. Little did she know. Yeah. Now, here's where we really date the story.
He has a good personality. That's what that sounds like.
This is where the story is really time capsule, time machine. She faxed the show.
Okay.
Yeah, she wrote a letter and faxed it to the show. Now we can pause the podcast now for the younger listeners to go to Google and find out what a fax machine is. But the fax found its way to Don and Mike before it found its way to me. And because it was after business hours, they called her number and Mike left a message as me on her voicemail at work. And of course it was, I can't quote it, but it was full of horribly inappropriate things that involved, the things that men and women do.
Yes.
And she got the voicemail the following Monday, and a good laugh was had by all. And thus began our telephone courtship. And eventually I met her at an appearance and we hit it off very well. We broke up once, got back together, and married in 1996. There, did I bring it in under a minute?
Well done. Excellent job. Well,
thank you.
It sounds very sweet, and I'm glad that Mike was able to bring the two of you together because honestly, as a listener, listening to the stories that come from you about the family and including Carrie, it's very sweet.
It's sweet until you realize the fact that we're married because she stalked me. It was either get married or put a sign in my yard. I mean, it was something very, very bad. She was the lady who sent me a fax. You sound like you're a lot of fun.
Well, the other appreciation that I have to have is you found a partner who can get your humor. Because if I were to be,
you're making quite a leap there.
Well, I have to assume so because
she tolerates very nicely.
You mean all the comments about beating your wife? She just tolerates. She doesn't actually laugh at that?
She doesn't listen, which I think is best.
Does she really not listen?
She occasionally listens. And yeah, she puts up with all that stuff. And of course it is shtick. But as far as I think I've said this on the show before, is that someone said, boy, Carrie must laugh all the time. You're so funny, Rob. Carrie must laugh all the time. Very high praise, and I appreciate it. But I said, to be quite honest, Carrie stopped laughing about 1999 because she's heard it all. Yeah. And it's annoying more than anything. I can occasionally make her laugh. If I can make her laugh now as we close in on over 20 years together, I know it's some dynamite material because she's sick of everything.
Well, I was looking for photos for this episode of OMearaCast, and I was going back through some photos of the live event at Falls Church.
Oh, the State Theater.
Yep, at the State Theater. And I found a photo, and it reminded me of that moment where the two of you embraced and you guys gave each other a kiss. It was obvious that either you were drunk or you're really in love.
Well, I think we have to go with in love. Carrie might have had a few drinks. I was so fit to be tied for that performance, our first live stage event as the podcast.
Yeah.
That day I had all day to eat 2 pretzel rods and half a beer. So I can promise you I was not drunk. Keyed up, yes, but not drunk. She looked beautiful that night, and that was an emotional moment for me because that's when I was, chopping my hair for my boy.
Yep.
And actually to have her come up on stage and be a part of it, that was really cool. And yeah, I love her to pieces. She's amazing.
Rob, that's great to hear. Let's take a break right here, and then we can come back, and I want to talk to you about your early days on D&M right here on OMearaCast.
I'm Oscar Santana.
And I'm Todd Moore, and we're trying to bridge the gap between entertainment and
technology.
And we're doing it right now.
Yes, and we're much better than Robb Spewak.
F you, Rob.
Listen to Tech 411. It's available on MikeO'MearaShow.com or find us on iTunes. Just search
for Tech 411 Show.
More Broadcasting. For more information, visit us at morebroadcasting.com.
This segment of O'MearaCast is brought to you by the Mike O'Meara Show's Amazon page, where every day can be Earth Day with a whole line of eco-friendly products from Amazon's 7th Generation line. 7th Generation is right here in Vermont, and they make everything from paper and cleaning products to organic foods and gardening. From solar phone chargers to solar panels, 7th Generation even makes earth-friendly products for your office. Save the planet, save money, and support the Mike O'Meara Show by clicking and bookmarking the Amazon link at MikeO'MearaShow.com.
What the hell is that? That's the most exciting thing in the world.
This is O'MearaCast.
Welcome back to O'MearaCast. And Rob, let's start with your internship on D&M. When did that start?
I believe it was, my first day was April 3rd, 2000. No, I'm sorry, April 3rd, 1992. So I just celebrated or observed my 21st anniversary on the DC Airwaves.
It's unbelievable how long.
Tell me about it. I should be doing so much better than I am.
Hey, you're at the top of your game right now as far as the fans are concerned.
Exactly. Thank you, Marcus. Nice save.
But as far as being an intern, how long were you an intern for?
I interned starting in April of 92, graduated in, I guess, May of 93 from Virginia Commonwealth University, and came back and sort of began an unofficial internship again, where I was just hanging around.
You were pulling an RJ.
Yeah, precisely. And I understand now that the intern rules have been tightened, where if you're not getting paid or if you're not getting college credit, you're not allowed to do this anymore.
Right.
But I did hang around, and I got picked up as a part-timer doing various things at WJFK. I think I was hired in August. So I interned unofficially from May to August, and then just picked up whatever could be done at the station. And I'd be like an assistant producer, I guess, was my unofficial title, but I was never, it was a long time before I was paid for anything Don and Mike show related. I was doing air shifts, which is essentially board hopping for other shows, and public affairs, all that garbage, just a means to be at the station.
Oh, I get it. I still do it to this day, just because you want to be in that environment. You have been known as the intern's friend, and you don't see my air quotes right now.
I feel
going on. But what is your love for the intern, and again, in quotes, because of the fact of the abuse that you were put through during those times, or is it because of the fact that, honestly, you think that interns need to go through that trial and tribulation?
I think the answer is yes to both of them. One time, I think it was my mother asked me, why are you putting up with all the stuff those guys are putting you through? And I said, if I were to step aside and quit right now, there's 9 or 10 people that would be dying to do what they're doing to me. Yeah. They'd love to take my place. And you have to sort of prove your mettle, METTLE, for that job. It's a great job to be around that stuff you love. But if you're going to take it halfway or half-ass it, you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
And you have to put up with it. That's sort of a testing ground for when an intern comes in. If they're going to be blasé about it and not feel the devotion or the spark or the passion for the product, then we can probably do just as well without them.
Right.
But then you balance that with the fact that it's fun to put people through their paces, and there's revenge in my twisted mind. I went through all that stuff, and it's sort of a proving ground. I like to see how people act under fire too.
Oh, absolutely. The reactions of individuals are so fascinating for me to watch. It's one of the reasons why I love radio, but it's also one of the reasons why I love to, and I'm kind of like you, and I'm guessing like you from the aspect of what I hear on the Mike O'Meara Show. I'm kind of a button pusher in general because I like to see how people respond. It's one of the things my wife loves about me.
You see, that's an aspect of a reality show that actually works. Is people being themselves in real life, in real time. That's the basis. Oh, may I take this call? It's my wife.
Sure, go ahead.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, you're on the air with me and Marcus Certa. How you doing? It's Carrie Spewak, everybody.
Hi, Carrie.
Hello.
Marcus says hi.
Sorry I wasn't there to be interviewed. I know that the audience is going to be very disappointed this week.
Yes, America weeps. What can I do for you?
I'm on my way home.
Excellent.
I know you miss me.
I do. Please hurry.
Bye.
Because as soon as you get here, we can end this interview.
Yeah. I'm calling like you told me to interrupt you.
Shut up, Jerry.
Get off the phone with Marcus.
Out of your mind. I love you.
Love you, Marcus in America. Bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
How
that was
sweet.
worth it. You are editing this, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm absolutely going to edit that out.
No,
Sure.
but what I was saying is like one of the first reality shows was Candid Camera.
Oh, yeah.
And it was people caught in the act of being themselves. And radio is so immediate and so informal, particularly if you're in a living room studio. You can oftentimes catch people being themselves. I love on-air banter with like a Zoolander.
Yeah.
Because he is such a great, not an opponent really, but an adversary. And he gives it back to me. And I love that. A recent moment that I loved is when we figured out the way that Josh the intern talked and started talking to him like that, and him becoming self-conscious because he had never picked up on it.
Yeah.
That was such a great isolatable moment, and there's no malice behind it. If I mention to the fact that, Zoolander talks with a lisp, well, the fact is he does, and it doesn't make him any less of a person, but it's sure fun to make fun of. The funnest things to make fun of are stupid people and fat jokes. Those are the greatest. And, if you don't have that, you have to go somewhere else, and we have smarter interns. Right. And so if I can go to something as simple as a small speech impediment or a vocal pattern, that's a blast. And what I love is that we'll go out to an event a week later and someone meets Josh the intern and they say, "So are you having a good time?" And, you get to play along with it, and it gives it a dynamic that's a lot of fun. And again, there's no malice behind it. It's just having a good time.
And being in radio, one of the things that radio personalities fall into is they all have radio crutches. They have vocal crutches.
Sure.
And you guys did it to me. You nailed me with the, have you ever? And I know after going back and listening to some episodes, I did a lot of those. Have you ever put peanut butter on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Yeah, and it was always the oddest ones you would choose. It was we were talking about, I think someone was talking about a medical issue, and it was sort of a segue, but not. And you said, "Have you ever had chicken pox?" And it was like, I said, this is the worst episode of the Barbara Walters show I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But it's fun. And, again, busting your balls is a great way and a fun way to include you under the More Broadcasting umbrella. It gave people, it simplified you to something way too simple, certainly, but it gave people something to grab onto. I love it. I think it's fun. And I will occasionally reference it on the show because Mike does 7,000 voices. I do 3. So let me have my Marcus Certa.
Well, you do 7,000. They just all sound like one Italian.
Yeah, they all fall under the Italian umbrella. Precisely. Italian Marcus Certa. Hey, you ever have the chicken pox?
It's a spicy meatball.
These are the biggest chicken pox, the biggest you had.
So as far as your relationship with the Don and Mike show, because obviously we know where that went, but it's come up, and I asked Mike when he was on the show recently, what's your relationship with Don these days? Don used to refer to you on the show as his best friend. Are you guys still really close?
We are friends. We are not as close as we were, I would say, because it is my understanding, and I absolutely can totally wrap my head around it, that he relates that era of his life to a time when he was married to Frida. And I think it's sometimes he doesn't want to revisit that. Yeah. So if the association with me brings up bad feelings or sad feelings for him, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. He remains my son's godfather. Swap Christmas cards with the guy, and I wish him all the best. I love that he's back on the radio. He's so amazingly talented. That's where he belongs. But as far as saying we're close friends now, I'd have to say no. No malice, no ill feelings at all. But if you were to say we were still close friends, I'd have to say no, because time marches on.
I absolutely understand. The transition between the two shows had to happen. It was a traumatic moment for everybody involved. But for your career, and we'll go back to your career, you started as a guy who was just hanging around, who became an intern, who became part of the show, who was a producer 15 times. Now you are really an influential, you're a key piece to the Mike O'Meara show.
Oh, go on.
You are Mike's right-hand man. If you're not there, and this is no slight on Mike whatsoever, because Mike is a talent beyond talent. But your key to him being able to play off in that studio with somebody else. Because he can play off Buzz on occasion. He can even play off Oscar on occasion. But you are always on. And he really counts on that.
Very nice of you to say. Anytime any one of the principals is not there, the show is different. We all have roles we play.
Yeah.
And if all four of us are there, we are all taking up 25% of the presentation. If someone is out, be it due to sickness or a vacation day, we all step up and we all become 33 1/3% of the presentation.
Right.
And Mike can work with anybody. I like working with all the guys in there. But I will say that I've listened to Mike for so long and worked with him for so long that it's really fun for me to be his go-to guy if he's doing a voice bit or some sort of piece of comedy that requires someone to react. I know oftentimes what he's looking for to make him better, if that makes any sense. You have to be the bouncing the wall that he bounces off of.
Yeah.
I hope that I can be the best one for that because I know him very well, comedically especially. There are times that I still misstep and I feel so rotten, but when we get in there and it's very rare that it happens, but when it does happen, I feel rotten because we're in there for 80 minutes a day.
Yep.
And we're improvising essentially, and you want to be the person that helps advance it to the direction or destination he wants to go. Very nice that you say what you've said. For me, it's an absolute pleasure to be that guy. And I love that when a bit is going in the way he wants it to and he looks to me, that's the greatest in the world. That's really what I set out to do when I got into the business.
Well, when I talk about you being key to it, the fact that you guys have such a rapport and you've gotten to know Mike in such a way and Mike has gotten to know you in such a way that it's almost like if he just blinks his eyes in a particular way, you know exactly which song to go search for on your iPad because he's about to get into something and it needs a musical interlude.
I try. The best thing is everything you do, everything you say, every element you play should try to advance whatever we're doing to the ultimate destination. And that's what I try to do with him.
But you've got a scary ability to be able to grab the perfect song at the right time and flip through. How many songs do you have on that iPad at any one moment?
I can tell you. I'll tell you right now if you like.
Sure.
I can actually open up and tell you the exact number. Now, to be honest, they're not all songs. Some of them are elements.
Yes.
Some of them are drop-ins. Some of them are spoken word pieces. But right now in my iTunes, if I were to sync right now, because it is 33,246 items
Jesus.
that I carry to and from work each day. If you were to play it in a row, Marcus, it would take 70 days.
Wow.
So that's why I only play some of them.
Well, you know, you could start up your own radio station with that and just put it on shuffle and you'd be all good.
World's worst radio station.
Well, you know what? There are plenty of radio stations that do just that these days. It's awful.
I know. The Bob format. It would be the Robb format.
Let's talk about your vinyl fetish.
Love it.
So what is it about the record that you are so into? Why not the 8-track or the cassette or some other form? Why vinyl?
It's hard to say. I think that the cassette and the 8-track were made to sort of make the album more convenient. It makes the album sort of their grandfather. Yep. That was the source material that gave us the 8-track because you can't play an LP in the car. You can't play. You just can't do it. They tried to make like things where you could put a 45 into a car, but they never really worked. The 8-track was made to be portable. The cassette was certainly made to be portable. And the LP remains the granddad. And to the people that have never taken the plastic off of a 1-foot square cardboard sleeve, maybe even one that opens up and read the lyrics or opened it and seen the artwork. Yes. And then you have something that you actually pull out and then you take off the paper sleeve and you touch it by the edges and you put it on the turntable and you drop the needle and you know that the reason you're getting that song is because of actual friction of a needle in a groove. It's a chemical, physical thing going on and it's turning sound waves into something that fills your house. I really don't get that from going in and opening a window on my computer and clicking twice.
And I understand that. And speaking of which, because you brought up the artwork, I was on iTunes yesterday. I was flipping through some tunes, and they actually had a selection based on artwork of a particular artist. And so they were showing like Asia covers and things like that. I can't remember the artist's name.
Right.
But you don't get that anymore. And
no, it's gone. And I will, about once a week, maybe every 10 days, I go into the Amazon page via the Mike O'Meara Show. And there is a very small, easily navigatable, but a section for new vinyl. And I try to stay a few albums ahead so that some Sunday morning or some weekend, if I want to go and actually play a record that's never been played before, I can do that. I just bought a great album, Amy Winehouse's Back in Black or Back to Black.
Yeah.
I forget the exact name of it, but I've listened to the CD 1,000 times. But there is just something different about playing a record. I love the fact that my kids, 10 and 12, they know how to play records. And there are a million operational CD jukeboxes out there that you can put in 8 million CDs, and each CD holds 1 million songs. Or, God forbid, the jukebox that plays off the internet, which is unlimited music.
Right.
But what I like, when I have my jukebox, is to have to sit down and weed out the 80 songs that are on 45 that have to go in there. It forces you to think about it and really choose the songs you like. And there's just something so tactile and real about holding a piece of plastic that holds music. I've got 45s that date back to the mid 1950s that still sound dynamite. And it blows my mind that when I picked this up, I said, God, when someone bought this record, Eisenhower was president. And now I'm holding it, and it still sounds damn good. There is a history to it, and maybe it is the fact that I tend to look backwards and I relish the past. Maybe it's because I like some piece of that past to stay with me.
Yeah.
But it's fun, man, and it's cool. And there is a warmth, and it's different. May I quote the great Tab Patterson?
Oh, God. Here we go. Yes, go for it.
But Tab says something that's really quite telling. He says that an album is like an oil painting.
Yes.
And an MP3 is like a digital snapshot.
No, I would absolutely agree.
There's nothing more, accurate and sterile and just absolutely, well, here it is and it's instantly ready than a digital photograph. But the warmth of dropping a needle, and if you're a Beatles fan, there's still something so intimate about, say, listening through Rubber Soul in mono, beginning to end, flip it, beginning to end. It's a beautiful album, and it just playing the CD is great, but it's a different experience and not one that I prefer.
Tab would also say that you have a love affair with mono to the extent of you're doing your show now, the Robb Spewak show, in mono, and it drives him crazy.
It depends on what you're doing. It's a matter of hardware and software. Except for maybe 10 or 12 exceptions, I will always play the Beatles in mono because they did the mono mix first. That's the one they spent the most time on. The stereo mix was done after the fact, so Capitol could charge $1 extra for LPs. And if you hear some of the early stereo mixes, it really does sound like they've just dropped a tape recorder down a well. It's just all echo. Yeah. And I don't prefer that. When I first was trying to change the sound of my music show, and Tab was very, very key to that. And I was very proud when I got a show that it sounded the way I wanted it to. And I sent him the file, and he said, it's in mono. I said, I know it's in mono. All I wanted was a pat on the back saying that we were close to making it sound right. He said, it's in mono. I said, I know it's in mono. How does it sound? He says, well, it sounds like it's in mono. I said, thanks, pal.
Some people, thanks for the help. You just can't make happy.
Yeah. No, I think that when I post the show to my website, I think it's in stereo. If it's not, then I need to fix it because it's intended to be in stereo.
And on that note, it's been asked by a number of people online. I've even asked it myself, and I know the answer. But for the public at large, why isn't the Robb Spewak show on iTunes? Why do we have to download it from robbspewak.com?
Because it has to do with licensing. What it is this is a capture of a show that's on KCJJ that is allowed to play music because they have their BMI and their ASCAP licensing that they pay rather. If I were to put it on iTunes directly from me, then I would owe royalties for every record I play. And I play about 75 records a week, and I ain't made of that kind of money. So I don't have that option to do that.
Yeah. But it is a good thing to hear so many people ask the question, because that means there's demand. People are looking for it. They just want it easy, and Apple has brought people the one push button option.
Right. Absolutely.
But, the Robb Spewak show, if you haven't given it a listen, go to robbspewak.com today, download an episode, and I guarantee you're going to hear a music program that you have not heard since you were a kid.
Well, it's even beyond that. I tried to sort of ape the sound of 1960s radio, but make no mistake, Marcus, I'm doing that show for one person, and you're talking to him. I play what I want to hear, and if people come along for the ride, that's fantastic. I have a lot of fun doing it. And there have been ones that have been very successful. There have been ones that have nearly gotten me fired from KCJJ. Steve Bridges is a very, very calm and understanding man. But if I were to ever do another show that was entirely done of 78 RPM records, I would have Fridays off from now on. He wouldn't want it anymore. Got a pretty good tongue lashing on that one. But the fact is that I got a chance to do it. And that was a lot of fun. And again, the name comes up, Tab. We got a stack of 78 RPM records, most of them from the 30s and 40s. And between he and I, we restored them all. And we played music off 78 RPM records all afternoon. It was a blast. Not so much fun for dancing, but it was a blast. We've done the all TV theme show. We did the first quadraphonic AM broadcast ever.
I heard that. It was
awesome.
awesome.
Check that out on the internet. That was a lot of fun. Most of the times it's just me and a stack of records and yelling my head off. It is a blast.
When you're talking about taking it back to a kind of a 1960s radio music program.
Boss radio, I like to call it, Marcus.
Boss radio. Who are you imitating? Who are you looking up to when you're projecting yourself?
I started listening to radio as many of our generation did. I was listening to music radio. And there was several heritage stations in the DC area that I enjoyed. WPGC, WAVA was the one that I really, really loved. That's where I first heard Don and Mike. They were the morning show there, but they got their start as a top 40 station, and they were the morning show, the morning jocks, man, on a top 40 station. But as I began to listen to the music, I started to look a little further back to when it was a slightly purer format. And there was a station here in DC called WPGC, which they said stood for Where People Get Cash, but it was actually Prince George's County.
Yeah.
And there was a disc jockey on there, and he's referenced on our show before, named Harv Moore. And I began to seek out and trade tapes of this disc jockey. And he led me to other disc jockeys too. That's when I first heard George Michael, who most people know from the Sports Machine.
Yep.
But he was on WABC and WFIL. Then you hear some of the great Chicago jocks that are amazing, like your Larry Lou Jacks and people like that. That so many times nowadays we make fun of because they're so jive in their presentation. But the jive is a lot of fun, and the energy. And the one thing that I remember about music radio growing up that maybe you do too, and it doesn't seem to exist anymore, the sense of listening, I don't want to turn this station off because I might miss something.
Absolutely. And I think it comes down, there are two main ingredients for me as a listener and as a jock that I think are key that do not happen in today's radio, which is one, keeping it local. So you are relating to your listenership. And secondly, teaching something, sharing something that you're not going to get. Because if I'm just prepping for the next promotion and I'm doing that break after break after break, that does not relate me, and that does not share any piece of me with the audience to ingratiate myself with them.
If you're not going to give them something to invest themselves in, why are they going to stay around? Because every radio station up the dial can also be playing the new one from Rihanna. You got to give them something that they can't get anywhere else. If I can bring it back to the Mike O'Meara show, you never know what's going to happen, and because it is so live and real. On Friday's show, I got hit in the face with a microphone.
There's a great picture on Facebook.
It's a series of pictures. It looks like a comic strip. And I mean, honestly, this is something that you never hear anywhere else. And on most stations or shows, they'd probably edit it out.
Yes.
But if you did not hear it first, shame on you, that intern Josh was walking, stepped on a cord, and knocked the 28-inch monitor that runs our Ustream down off the table, and it landed on my mic boom, which is a T-shaped mic boom, and the crossbar got all that weight and jammed my microphone into my mouth. Hey now. And it didn't hurt me because I had the mic screen on the mic.
Yeah.
But very disconcerting and a wonderful noise.
It was great audio.
But it is once again, you never know what's going to happen. We are not a tightly formatted show.
No.
We come in prepped to do what we're going to do, but my favorite shows are the ones that at the end of the day, Mike looks at me and says, "We didn't get to anything on my sheet." That's such a great sign. Because
that's
that means
almost every day.
The show was so organic and so real and so natural that we just went in and let it happen. Mike is the ringmaster. He's the straw that stirs the drink. If we get to a topic that's no good, he's not going to leave us there. But if it is good, he's going to know to foster it and prolong it. And when we get to do a show that doesn't have anything to do with what we prepped, that's what I love. That's my favorite because that's real. And that is so naturally fun, and that's 4 dynamic guys in a room just being themselves. I love talking to those guys. Otherwise, we would have given it up months ago.
Well, thank goodness you guys chose not to give it up. But let's take a break right here, and when we get back, I want to talk more about the dynamic of TMOS right here on OMearaCast.
This segment of OMearaCast is brought to you by RC Kitchens. Don't just remodel your kitchen with cheesy mass-produced cabinets. Get a kitchen custom made by artists using real wood and quality materials. Contact Rory Callahan at RC Kitchens to get Mercedes quality at Prius prices. RC Kitchens makes it a point to find out exactly what you want and takes the frustration right out of remodeling. Estimates from RC Kitchens are guaranteed accurate for both the price and the timetable. RC Kitchen serves the DC area all the way to the beaches of Delmarva. If you're outside the DC area, though, RC Kitchens might still be able to help you. Contact Rory Callahan and his crew today at 301-537-3515. That's 301-537-3515 or at rckitchens.com.
A few hours ago, you thought a little excitement would kill you. Now look at you.
This is OMearaCast.
Welcome back to OMearaCast. We were talking last segment about the dynamic of TMOS, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit more. The dynamic is unbelievable how you guys work together and play off each other, and I know that a lot of it has to do with longevity, but even with the newness of Oscar in this particular group, he has fit right in. Now, let's talk about you and Oscar for a moment, because
it's a fun dynamic.
I think over the last 3 years, you guys have really, your relationship has really bloomed and blossomed over the last 3 years to the point where, as we know, over the last year especially, I think this has been about a year now, where Mike has been referring to the two of you as brothers. He'll point and he'll say, your brother over there is busting your balls.
You could not find 2 more different people in the world than me and Oscar. The only thing that we share probably is the fact that we are male. And our foreheads. Yes. But other than that, we are extraordinarily different. And I was not hesitant, but curious to see how it would go. I've known Oscar for a long time, knew him in passing before we started the podcast, because we worked in the same building, knew his work, listened to his show, but I'd only spent maybe a total of 10 hours on the air with him. And to sit down has been such a pleasure. And I really do love not just sharing the air with him, but sharing that space with him. Geographically, he and I sit closer than any other 2 people on the show. I'm at a chair that sits at a right angle to the end of the couch where he is. So he and I share a lot of glances and a lot of laughs that sometimes people on the air are not even aware of. He is such a great broadcaster. He does stuff without even thinking about it that when I apply myself to do it, I can't. And where I am weakest as a broadcaster, you've said so many nice things, Marcus, about the way the way Mike and I play off each other. And that for me is my favorite part of my job. However, even when I apply myself, it is a stretch for me to be the guy that keeps the show on course, keeps a sort of linear direction to the show.
Yeah.
and without doing it in an upsetting way, a way that weakens what's going out over the air. Oscar does it without thinking. He is so good at it, and I'm an amazing storyteller. He is so honest and avails so much of himself. It is, without overstating it, it is literally an honor to sit next to him and share the air. He's that good. He's taken everything that is a weakness that I have as far as a broadcaster, and he's got my slack, and he makes the show so much better because he does it effortlessly.
Is there anything else on TMOS that you want to do on the show that you guys haven't done yet? That a direction, an element, something that you would add to the show?
I don't know. I love the way the show is when we travel, and I'd like to see more traveling in the show, as long as we can continue to present a quality product because of it. We went to Iowa and we broadcast live from the tailgate, and we did the week of shows from Florida, and we did Mike's house in Maine, and all of those were very different. The audio was fine, sounded different, but it was fine. And so we were okay with it. But putting us into different environments, especially for extended periods of time, by the end of the Florida shows, we were not ready to kill each other, but certainly hit each other with sticks. And you get a different a more raw presentation, and we're a little more real. I love the traveling element of the show. I'd like to see us in different environments that way.
Do you think that it freshens up the show a little bit, gives you guys a renewed energy? Maybe that's why.
Are you implying something?
No, I thought about it because of the fact that Mike has busted your balls recently about being a suburbanite, but there's two things there. Honestly, you guys are back in the normal routine of your everyday lives. You are going to be going to Home Depot and Costco and all those kinds of things. And oh, by the way, Mike should remember that in just a few months' time, when the baby's at home, he's going to be doing the same damn things you are.
Oh, he's going to be the king of suburbia. I will be maybe the Jack of Diamonds, but he will be the king.
Yeah.
No, as far as freshening, no, freshening is not the word I would say, but I will say that everybody in that room can react to almost anything that's thrown at them. I like the variance. I like the variables. I like to see different things thrown our way. I also like going in and doing the normal show, because there's enough going on in our lives and in the world on a daily basis that we can do it every day. The news is different every day. Every day there's more audio for the vault. Every day Mike has another adventure, or Oscar has another adventure, or me or Buzz has something we can talk about. But when you truly put us in a new variable environment and we're allowed to react to that, that's a lot of fun. And as far as calling it fresh, I don't think fresh is the word. I think the word is different.
When are you guys coming up to Vermont?
Tuesday.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
I don't know of what month or year, but it will be a Tuesday. I don't know. I do not make the travel plans. I love when they are announced and we'd be up there. I'd love to. Vermont is one of the states I've never been to.
Well, you've got to come up here. It's one of the most beautiful states in the Union. I'm telling you.
Don't boss me around, pal.
Make it happen.
I don't got to do anything.
Damn it. Make it happen right now.
No, we'd love to. We would absolutely love to. And again, I love the traveling element. And as far as show material, when we actually travel together, it's a gold mine. It always has been. But there are, again, you got 4 very different people, 5 if you count Mark, that we have our similarities, but we are all different extremes in different ways. And you put us into the environment, whether it be a motorhome or something as simple as a trip on an airplane, they become very, very obvious, and it's fun to point them out.
Well, the extremes of putting you guys in a very small space for an extended period of time going to Iowa, or whether or not it's sending a bunch of old guys down to spring break, you're going to get one hell of a dynamic and lots of material.
And know this, when we did that RV trip, we didn't know if we liked each other. We didn't know how it was going to go. That was a relatively early part of the show. We knew we liked each other, but you like people at work, but you don't know how it's going to be if you spend 7 days with them in a vehicle. We're lucky we didn't kill each other. Turned out we actually are quite fond of everybody.
Well, you guys spent a lot of time traveling when during the Don and Mike days. So you
never in an RV.
That's true.
Never in an RV, and we always had, we We'd get there, we'd do the show, and then we'd split. But in an RV, there's no splitting unless you break your leg because you're jumping out of a car. It's moving very fast. So there was no escape. There was no escape. And that was a very cool and reassuring segment of time because I said, oh, my God, these guys are really good guys. We do get along. We are a band of brothers.
Now you've got the Mike O'Meara show and you've got the Robb Spewak show. Is there anything else that you want to do? I mean, you've got Oscar with 15 different podcasts. Do you have any plans to do anything else, or are you at the pinnacle of your show achievement?
This is it, pal. This is it. We're done. I thought we did very well, and no, I'm done. I'm not going to do anything else. The music show, the Robb Spewak show, is an absolute pleasure. Whether or not I'd want to do it more than once a week, I highly doubt it, because I think every episode of it has its personality. And be they themes or something, it's good. It's fun. I love that people like it. I love doing it. It is a blast. As far as the O'Meara show, I've never been happier with doing talk or hot talk or guy talk or whatever it is that you want to classify us as this week. It's the best any of us has ever sounded. And I love that. As far as looking for something outside of that, nothing that excites me right now. If something were to present itself, I'd certainly not say no to it. But I want to see the O'Meara show continue to be as good as it can be, as good as it is, better. I'd like to see it grow. And that is where I'm focused primarily right now. I got started in radio listening to Mike O'Meara along with his partner Don and saying, oh, my God, that's what I want to do. And it was a stupid thing to want to do because, I mean, not just be in the business. I was pointing to them and saying, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I got to work alongside them. But the fact that because the cosmos have shifted and the planets have aligned, that I am now partners not only with Mike, but with Buzz and with Oscar and the whole crew. What had to happen for this to rise to reality is an incredible amount of circumstances. I'm so extraordinarily lucky that this is what I do. There are not many people that have a life's dream to set out to do something. And whether it be from tremendously hard work, we know that's not the case with me, or a lot of luck, I'm more inclined to think it's that you land there and that's what you get to do. I'm making a living right now. I'm clothing my kids. I'm housing my family, doing what I set out to do in the early, or actually the late 1980s. That's pretty remarkable. And not a lot of people can say that. And of that, I'm very proud.
What can we do as listeners to help support you and the show? Besides, I mean, we support the advertisers. We buy the merchandise. Is there anything else that we can do for you?
Spread the word. We did in the month of March, the listener initiative. We are so proud. It sounds jive and it sounds almost self-serving, but we have to be self-serving. That's how we grow this thing. We're as proud of what we're doing now as anything we've ever done as broadcasters. And there is, I think, nearly 100 years of experience in that studio. You add up how long we've all been on the air, if not more. And when you take the culmination of that, and if this is what we are the proudest of, the Mike O'Meara show, our biggest obstacle is we have got a worldwide platform. Literally, I never had this when we started. We're available to anybody that has a computer, and we're just scratching the surface of the people that are taking us up on this presentation we're putting out. You got to tell everybody you know people, when you get to know people, their sense of humor. It's a funny show. It's a great show. I'm so pleased to be a part of it. You have to tell these people, please give us a chance. I think if you can get them to listen to 5 episodes, we'll have them.
Yeah.
But you just got to help us get the word out.
Agreed.
And I'm not talking to everybody, Marcus. I'm just talking to you. Everyone else, relax.
Hey,
no, of course I'm kidding. Everybody, spread the word. Even if it's something as simple as mentioning us on Facebook, or what I love are people that go to, say, a Best Buy, and there's a row of 75 laptops.
Yes.
And they put all of them onto MikeO'MearaShow.com. Little gestures like that are awesome. But I think the most effective way to grow the show is the most organic way. Pester someone to listen. And I think we can have them. It's a good show.
The best thing that I did the other day, and I did go into a Best Buy, and I did bring up the MikeO'MearaShow.com on a laptop, and then I cranked up the sound, and then I played one of the shows.
Awesome. That's terrific. And if you don't get locked up in jail, all the better. But if you do, it was for a great cause.
Exactly. So I got a couple of listener questions that I want to get to. So Paul Towsley, he asks, why 2 Bs?
It looks better. And it's sort of being a douche, pain in the ass type thing. But I think it does. I think it looks more appealing to the eye. The reason I started it is in 4th grade for me is when Governor Chuck Robb was running to be the governor of Virginia. And at that point, it was 4th grade and everyone was still calling me Robbie. And you get to the point where you're 10 and you feel kind of silly being called Robbie because at that point I was, 290 pounds, 6'2", and no, not yet, but on my way. And Robbie is silly. And I said, well, I should be called Rob. And everywhere I looked, there were stickers and shirts and campaign signs that said Rob for governor. And so if I went with 2 Bs, not only did I change my name, but I had a whole marketing campaign right in front of me. And so really I named it after Governor Chuck Robb, later Senator Chuck Robb. I don't know why Rob Weller does it from Entertainment Tonight, but I've been a 2B Rob ever since. And it's sort of fun to correct people on Facebook too.
Steve Weisenhunt.
Yes.
Or Weisenheimer. I don't know how you pronounce things.
He's the guy that founded Apple, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
No, that's Wozniak. Sorry.
He says, other than plastic bags and self-checkout, what is the most evil change in groceries?
The most evil change in groceries is actually an offshoot of the self-checkout, is the lack of staff on hand and the lack of service and the people that are not there to help you. I think that's the biggest problem right now. There is no service in groceries. The fact that there used to be people, even if it was around today, I would not take them up on it. But the clerk that helps you get stuff to your car, the fact that you used to drive around and you could pull up to the curb and there would be someone stationed outside by your car to help you load your stuff into your car, doesn't exist anymore. And from someone like me who buys 3 or 4 items at a time on a daily basis, I don't need it. But I think of people like perhaps my mom or a kindly grandmother that does need that help, and it doesn't even exist. Once again, remember, folks, it's like banking. When you go to the grocery store, they're not doing you a favor. You're a client. Why are you checking out your own groceries? They should be doing that for you. You're giving them money, remember?
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be treated as a client and don't put up with the fact that you're being forced to do the work. I will never, ever use a self-checkout because I used to make money to do that. If they want to pay me $7.50 an hour, maybe I'll do it.
I get it, but my issue with that is, and I'm 1, lazy, and 2, I believe the same thing. They're charging me, I know, on that item in order to pay for the personnel to bag these things. Why do they only have 1 bagger for 10 aisles?
Because it's the fact that they are looking at the bottom line. There has to be something we do as a people. Boy, so political today as we talk groceries on the show, Marcus.
Well, you are the grocery expert, apparently.
I did it for a lot of years. I was wickedly fast in the express lane. But I was a 2-handed checker, by the way. I would also, that's another problem. Checkers that scan items with 1 hand. You can double your speed.
That way, you've got 1 clean hand, and then you've got that 1 dirty hand. And
No. All their hands are filthy dirty. They're just filthy with disease and rot. They're going to have to touch everything. And besides, that's the same hand they use to pick their nose on their break. So if they're going to touch your groceries, please wash your produce.
What is your real deal with Wegmans? I went into a Wegmans, and when I was down there last to visit you guys,
right?
And honestly, it was like any other grocery store that I walked into. I did not have a
It's not.
Okay, then can you name a grocery store that gives you good service? And regardless of price.
Okay.
I mean, would a Whole Foods give you the service that you'd be okay with?
Don't muddy my positions. Wegmans, it's not the problem with Wegmans is not the service.
Okay.
The problem with Wegmans is the fact that they've hired highly skilled architects, probably from Europe, maybe Germany, to design a floor plan that makes you at a disadvantage to get what you need and get out quickly and cleanly. We have another chain down here called Giant Food, which amazingly the food is all normally sized, but it's called Giant. And when you go in, there is check stand. There, I should say, there are check stands, the standard layout, check stands. They're next to produce, and then you have aisles, just straight aisles. That's it. Parallel lines. On the edge, there'll be dairy. On the edge, there'll be meat. Then they'll have your yogurts and cheeses and stuff because your refrigerated section is on the perimeter. That's standard. But when you go into a Wegmans, the aisles start and stop. Some of them are at an angle. It's hard to navigate the store. Why? Because they want you to walk around the store. Why? Because of the impulse buy. They're making the store purposely hard to navigate. So you have to look at more stuff. And also there is the overused thing. Oh my God, you can go in there and you can eat like crazy. They have a restaurant. They have a cocktail lounge. There's a comedy club. No, I don't want that at a grocery store. Do you really want to go in there and get hot food? If I want to go in and get hot food, I'll go to a restaurant because a restaurant does that for a living. You know who's working in the hot food section at a Wegmans? The guy who's not quite sharp enough to run dairy. I can't pick up 4 gallons of milk. Okay, good. You go man the olive bar. Go stir the olives.
Nice.
I'm not interested in that. A grocery store should be clean, simple, well-staffed, and able to be in and out of. And again, the Wegmans parking lot is like Pirates of the Caribbean. I might still be there right now. I don't even know.
Well, while you're figuring that out, let's take a quick break. And when we get back, let's talk about a couple of more things to wrap this thing up. But I do want to touch on your obsession with Facebook right here on O'MearaCast.
Hey, everyone. Mike O'Meara here.
And hey, I'm Robb Spewak.
We just want to remind you guys that we never listen to the Mark and Lowell show.
No, we're just kidding. This is really Oscar Santana.
And this is Buzz Burbank. How you guys doing? Listen, Mark and Lowell have a great show that they put together for you guys, so we really think that you should listen.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. Nah, all right, let's let them know the real deal. This is Mark Ronick.
And this is Lowell Melser.
So please, we're begging you, listen to our show. You'll like it.
You're crazy, man.
The Mark and Lowell Show.
Every Thursday, you can get it on iTunes, markandlowell.com, or morebroadcasting.com.
Resistance is futile. It's the Mark and Lowell Show.
This segment of O'MearaCast is brought to you by the Mike O'Meara Show's Amazon page, where now you can save up to 75%. That's 75% on select watches, shoes, and everything, from wireless routers to SAT prep kits. You can save up to 70% on books, headphones, and jewelry, up to 60% on musical instruments and home theater gear, and up to 50% on clothes and outdoor gear. Know someone who's having a baby? Yes, we do. 30% off baby stuff and cell phones and computers and so much more. Save your money and support the show you love. Click and bookmark the Amazon link at MikeO'MearaShow.com today.
It's push, push, push all the way, all the time.
I can't stand much more of this. I can't take any more.
This is O'MearaCast.
Welcome back to O'MearaCast. And Rob, before I let you go, let's start with Facebook.
Okay.
You, the master of Facebook, as far as the Mike O'Meara Show is concerned, you are the master because you do Facebook in a way that none of the other guys do. You are on there all the time. You are posting things there that are relevant, things that are funny, and obviously you're doing things for the family that are sweet and memorable and of that nature. You're not putting down your potty times or the meals you eat or things of that nature. You're not putting
very seldom take pictures of food either before or after is what you're saying.
Correct. But what has become your obsession with Facebook? Why do you love it so much? Why haven't you gone to some of the other social networks?
Facebook and I just sort of are a really, really good fit. I actually looked at when it was popular. I looked at the MySpace. And it was creepy to me, frightening. I didn't like it. It really did look like it's where people that do bad things go to sort of hang out. And then I got into Facebook based on the fact that that's how they were organizing my 20th high school reunion.
Yeah.
And it was also a little off-putting because I'd never done anything like it. Like I got something the first time someone poked me, I had no idea if it was even good or if I needed to keep this a secret from my wife. I didn't know. And then someone said, I got a message. She said, will you join my troop of vampires? And I didn't know about these stupid gaming apps and Facebook. I thought really this girl from high school had really changed. I said, oh my God. And I said, no, I don't think that's my scene. Thank you. I mean, I really didn't know what was going on, but the more I got into it and I got to see it as a way that you can sort of interact with people at your own speed and at your own way, your own pace, and also with your own sort of flavor. Like if I hear a movie quote or think of something totally out of context,
Yeah.
And I can go and post it. And then my little game is to see how many people will comment before someone can place the fact that it's a movie quote.
Right.
You're just picking someone's brain. Very random stuff. Then obviously it became invaluable when we launched the podcast. It was the only way we advertised the podcast from the word go. That's when I realized the true value of it. But after you've had a few pops in the night and you want to go in and dick around and jerk people around, there's nothing like that either. If you catch me between a second and third glass of wine, that's when I'm in perfect mode to go through and start correcting grammar. And that's just being a dick. But it's so easy and so safe because people are at an amazing distance. And so many of them are, even though their name and their face is right in front of you, they're nameless and faceless. It's like penalty. It's like going through and picking a fight in a bar where you can't possibly get punched in the nose.
You had to know, though, when you said your New Year's resolution was going to be a cutback on Facebook, that you were going to fail almost immediately.
Well, yeah, but you know what? How many people have said they're not going to smoke anymore and they're back on cigarettes? At least I'm not getting lung cancer.
There's that. Speaking of,
I do my best, and I do turn it off, and I do spend more evenings with the family. I wouldn't say it's a failure. I would say I'm failing.
You're not. Yes, you've cut back maybe 2%.
5%.
All right, I'll give you that just to be nice.
Give me my 5%, please.
Nice.
I'm doing the work.
So last but not least, I want to ask you about your health, because I had to ask Mike last week. There seems to be just failing health all around TMOS.
As soon as anyone appears on this OMearaCast program, it's like signing a deal with the devil.
Well, anytime you spin a record, you kill off another artist.
Exactly. That's true. I thank God you're not mentioning any celebrities today. That means I can get through the week without my conscience being hampered.
That's right. How are you feeling?
My health is good. I did, I lost a lot of weight on the Weight Not, which is an awesome program. I've put back a couple pounds, but actually I'm starting back in a week or so to get back to where I was. I feel good. My kids are awesome and an amazing thing to live for. Walking the dog helps. I feel good. I occasionally wake up feeling a little hungover, but then who doesn't?
What would a day be like without a little hangover to start your day?
As Frank Sinatra said, I feel sorry for those who don't drink, because when you wake up, that's as good as you're going to feel all day.
When I was going through photos, again, looking for a photo for today's show.
When you were doing this, did you have your pants on?
No, not at all. I always do the show naked.
How unfortunate and disturbing.
I mean, I was looking through a lot of photos of you, and it was really hard to find. I mean, I can find some current photos, but I was really trying to find something rare and unique. And wow, what a transformation you have made since you took on Weight Not, to go from where you were, and I don't know what the exact number was when you first started, but to that look and that picture for Weight Not. Unbelievable transformation.
Scary and odd to look at from my own vantage point, because I was doing it. It's very, very worthwhile and exciting, and it's made me feel better. So it's good stuff. Also, I lost 5 pounds in hair.
Yeah, that was an easy one, and thanks to Omar for taking that right off for you.
Yeah, he was good on the he sort of did like the lawn mowing part. I had to go to a professional for the edging. He wasn't precise, but he did a great job.
I do have a picture of you and I after that show, and you have a couple of sprigs that are sticking off your head still.
Yeah, look, it's not the best look. I did have to go get it cleaned up the next day, but yeah, that was really cool. I asked Mike if I could do that when I got my head shaved at the end of that first State Theater show, and was very pleased that he would not only approved it, but was enthusiastic about it. It was one of my favorite moments of that night.
Yeah. And speaking of health, I want to say, and because of the fact that I've been closely affected, not personally, but through my family, with people who have been affected with cancer. So I completely understand what you've gone through with Robert. To hear the news a few weeks ago that he had a checkup and everything is looking fantastic. It brings a tear to my eye just thinking about it, because yeah, I empathize.
I understand. It's a lot for anyone to deal with, even from a distance. And I still flip out every time he gets a temperature. And I probably will even when he's an old man. I have to this week, Carrie and I have to take him to his oncologist for a follow-up, not for really a checkup, but just to make sure he's in good enough health to make him go for his ability to go to camp this summer.
Right.
And it's the feeling of getting your report card in high school times 75,000. It's so scary. There is no reason for us to worry right now where he is health-wise. The chance of him having a recurrence of leukemia is roughly equal to you being struck by lightning today.
Yeah.
It's that rare. But we've been through so much with him and so much as a family. And it's not just him. It's Carrie. It's Julia, who had to sacrifice a lot of personal time with our family unit because of times in the emergency room and time spent in a hospital and time spent where Robert needed a little more attention, not because he was a kid who needed social attention, but because he needed attention because we were trying to beat that cancer. And as a family, we all grew from it, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody. We are so amazingly blessed that he came through it, and that when you see him, you don't realize, you don't even have an inkling that he's been through anything. He will never remember a time when he didn't have it. He was diagnosed at just over the age of 2. And he'll never remember a time when he didn't have cancer, but he'll always know that he beat it. He's going to be an unstoppable kid. He's got the biggest heart. He is so sweet, so nice. I wish his sister would take a lesson.
And I understand. And just to carry on a little bit, I empathize not only from the fact that there's been cancer throughout my family that I've had to deal with, but my daughter is a type 1 diabetic who was diagnosed when she was 10. And I remember the moment that we had to rush her to the hospital because, the way that it comes on, it looks like the flu.
Yeah.
And you take her to the hospital and they tell you that your kid has this. It's diabetes is something that you can live with, you can manage, you can handle it. But for
my father has had it for 30 years.
But me as a parent having to hear that news, I would have given anything, including my own soul, at that particular moment if I could have just taken that from her.
I think I did not realize that you shared. I'm glad you shared that about your daughter. And I think you will probably have an overlap with me as far as being a parent. The hardest thing when you get a diagnosis like that is realizing that as a dad, you're so accustomed to at least trying to assume the role of Superman and the guy that fixes things and takes care of things, that for the first time you're being handed something that you are incapable of fixing. And just when you want to hold your kid a little closer, you're being forced to hand your kid to professionals and trust them quite literally with the life of your child. That's the hardest thing that I had to deal with, is that not that he was suffering, which was a burden that I could not put down. It was on my mind always. But the hardest thing was knowing that I had to let go and let someone else take care of this and not be the dad on this. I was the follower. And once you realize that that's the procedure, you can get through with it, and you will marvel at what doctors can do and how they can cure and save and repair. But that is an amazingly hard step. And you would give your legs, you'd give your soul to take the diagnosis back, but that's not an option. The option is to let go. And at that time, there's nothing harder to do.
Yeah. How's Dillinger these days?
She's fine. She just got a 4.0. She's so smart. If she put half the effort into the actual schoolwork that she did complaining about the schoolwork, she could be president in 3 weeks. But she's nailing all her topics. She is not exceptionally mathematically minded, and the math she's doing is just off the chart. She's so bright. She's so smart, and I could not be any prouder of her. She's an amazing, amazing daughter.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me your time today. It's been great to talk to you. And, as a fan, thank you for what you bring every day with those 3 guys to my life, because even in this particular moment that we've just shared, you guys have, in every iteration of the show, have been able to take moments where I have not been in a great space and made them better. And allowed me to escape for a little while. Even recently, in the Boston Marathon bombings.
Yeah.
It's very close to home for me because lots of friends down there.
Right.
Very close to Vermont in comparison to New York.
Sure.
But I've spent a lot of time in New York, so I totally get it. So here's two incidents, and the Boston Marathon one really struck home here locally. Had a friend who actually decided this year was not going to go down to the marathon, thankfully, because he would have probably been passing just about that time. And you guys helped me get through that week. And I know you guys were even putting it all out there and saying, look, we're watching the news and this is what's going on. And I can't believe that they're reporting this way. And you guys are venting a lot, but it's still, to hear that was a conversation that I needed to hear and be a part of, even as a listener, to get through.
You're very, very kind to say that. It is our clubhouse, and we have lots and lots of members. And I know that there are times when there are people in my family, and some of them I'm even married to, Marcus. They think, my God, what does he do for a living? He makes fart jokes. Well, I suppose that's fine. But when you go through something like this, and it is really something where the nation, and I think in many ways the world, comes together as a community, and knowing from people like you that say having you guys there was helpful to me, that makes me feel like $1 million because it validates what I do for a living. I love to make people laugh. I love to make people smile. I love to know that somehow some of the jackassery that we do can take a sad song and make it better. I don't want to sound too jive, but thank you. It's very nice of you to say that. And I love the fact that there are people that put a value on what we do, because really we're just trying to fill 80 minutes. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
Thanks for coming on OMearaCast, man. I really appreciate it. Keep up the good work on TMOS and, of course, Robb Radio, which I love. It's another, from music show to engage me the way that yours does. It's amazing because you're teaching me every week something about music that I never knew before. That cover show blew me away.
Well, thank you very much. That's a lot of fun. And those ones that are heavily researched, they don't come that often because of the effort involved. And as you know, I'm criminally lazy. But I do enjoy that. And that's the kind of stuff that I've done, even going back to as a kid, you know, trying to discover stuff. But back then you had to go to a record store to like find things. Now it's all on the internet, and it's so much fun to bring it and share it. I've not sent out this week's show yet, but I was just marveling to find out that the strings that they used to score the song Eleanor Rigby.
Yes.
You know, the Eleanor Rigby is one of the Beatles songs where no Beatles actually play on it. It's just 2-string quartets. But when George Martin, their producer, was scoring it, he was actually inspired by the score from Psycho, which was also all strings. Now, if you ever break out and listen to the isolated strings of Eleanor Rigby, about 2 minutes, 15 seconds in, it sounds like the shower scene in Psycho. But you're so engraced in the record, you never realize it until you bust it out. Stuff like that really blows my mind. And I'm still finding stuff out about records that are made 50 years ago. There's no end to it. And that's why that continues to be a blast.
I also want to thank all of the listeners for listening today. This has been a really great opportunity for us to get to know you better. And please, if you are listening to this show right now and have not liked us on Facebook, go to facebook.com/OMearaCast today and like us, because there are going to be more interviews like this, and we're going to have more conversations with more fans each and every week right here on OMearaCast.